And since this is an international audience, it's important that we put it in proper perspective. I guess that what we're doing or what we're witnessing is actually rather very, very unfortunate, and it's avoidable, and it's very dangerous for the survival of our country as a nation, and it's not in our interest. It's not in anybody's interest. What is happening now is that it was a peaceful protest, a protest that was highly commendable, but it was allowed to linger for too long. And first, it was infiltrated by people whose agenda is totally different from the agenda of the original conveners of the protest. And then secondly, of course, there is always a fatigue. When something lingers beyond the ordinary requirement, the fatigue will set in, and other things will come in and overtake what was originally intended. I think it's unfortunate. And when it started, it was peaceful. It was like young people wanted to make their voices heard, and their voices were heard. And to a large extent, government took those voices very seriously. Action was being taken, but then it lingered on beyond 10 days, and other things came in, the looting, the burning, the supposed shooting, which is disputed somehow by some other segments of the authorities, and then the divisions that are being created, typical of the Nigerian political elite with their pedestrian thinking. They are changing the narrative gradually, making it a North versus South or a South versus North kind of thing. They're making it a Muslim versus Christian kind of thing. These are all products of pedestrian thinking, the products of a backward political system. And with all of these things, if care is not taken, the original reason for the protest started would have been lost in all of these things that are happening now, particularly the looting, the burning, the arson, the attacks and counterattacks on each other. I think these are things that should not have happened, should be condemned by every right-thinking person. The original reason for which the protest took place is still as valid as when the thing started, that no free citizen in any country should be harassed by those that are paid by his own taxpayers' money to protect him. This is fundamental, and we should not lose it. But when it is infiltrated by other people and the thing takes the dimension of region, religion, and antagonisms along our known fault lines, I think that is unacceptable and is very bad.
We thank you very much. My question at this point will be, in your opinion, do you think that this protest is just about police brutality, or is it as a result of pent-up anger and frustration of the masses with the political class?
Well, when it started, every conflict in the world has its own trigger points. When it started, the real trigger point for this protest, whether we like it or not, is police brutality. And police brutality targeted at young people mainly in the southern part of the country. A lot of people must understand one thing, that, for example, SARS in Borno had no business with any young man calling him a Yahoo boy or anything. SARS in Borno is essentially helping the citizens, the military, the JTF to confront Boko Haram. So Borno person does not even understand that SARS brutalizes innocent people as far as he is concerned. But in the southern part of the country, where we have a highly upwardly mobile young men and women, SARS became a means to torment younger people and begin to label them by their dressing, by their outlook, by their their flashy cars or flashy phones, or if they are holding a laptop. You know, SARS did all of that. There is no doubt about it. Nobody should wish it away. So it became the trigger for so many other things that have happened in the polity over the years that have been neglected by the political class. The political class had become so comfortable with the system that they are operating that they seem to have forgotten completely that other people are watching. You know, if you see sometimes the scandalous display of wealth by the political class at gatherings and ceremonies that involves them, and the ordinary people who are finding it very difficult to eat will look at these things, and you think it does not build up anger in them. I think it's not fair. So I'm sure that there are other underlying, class difference, social agitations that were being buried deep down. And the protest against the SARS, brutalizing young people became just a trigger for a much deeper occurrence within the polity. And I think we need to take that very seriously and begin to reconfigure and look at our social relationships. I think the gap between the haves and the have-nots is widening. And I think the insensitivity of those that are propertied in the country is becoming more and more scandalous. The poverty levels are getting worse. And this has been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. There is a report in circulation that predicted that there will be this kind of uprising in certain countries, and that includes Nigeria. This is very clear. Everybody knows. So at this point in time, what the political class, what the leadership class needed to have done was to begin to be more humane, more sympathetic, more empathetic, and our tone should be to pacify the masses to understand that, things are really hard for everybody, including government. But when you begin to address people as if all is well, and then, suddenly some segments of the agencies of government that are specifically required to protect the people become their tormentors, I think you've already created a very fine recipe for the kind of things we are seeing. I think there are a lot of pent-up anger in very many areas, in our social relationship between persons to persons, relationship between regions to region, relationship between community and community, relationship between religion, the different religious bodies that we practice, relationship in all aspects. There are gaps, and there are discontents, there are worries, there are disturbances. And I think we need to now sit down at the end of this process, and we pray that this process ends as soon as possible. We return to normalcy. We need to sit down and address all of these issues and discuss them openly, put them on table, and begin to find what everybody feels is wrong and how that wrong can be corrected.
Okay, thank you. And now, speaking about what the government should do you think the government has handled these NSAS protests very well, both at the state and federal government level?
Let us aggregate it differently. At the state level, I must, to a very large extent, say the state governors, many of them, and I say it with all sense of responsibility, many of them have demonstrated leadership to a large extent. They were there, they came out, they braved the odds, they addressed the gathering. In fact, in some instances, they were molested and mobbed by the people, although details of some of these things are coming out very gradually. That's typical of the Nigerian politician. Politicians had also cashed in on it and things, but be that as it may, governors have demonstrated sufficient leadership. In most of the states, they have, immediately constituted judicial panels and committees. Some of them have even visited victims in their homes. I think the governors have demonstrated leadership. But at the federal level, there are certain agencies of the government at the federal level that have not demonstrated leadership at all. And this we must say, because everybody, because a lot of the people who are operating at the federal level think that the masses and the media, focus all attention on the president, Muhammadu Buhari. They feel so comfortable not to perform their duties diligently because they know that they will not be accused, that the president will be accused. But I think a lot of the agencies could have done what they did differently. This is the 11th or 12th day of the protest. It's only today I saw a press release from the Minister of Police Affairs. This whole thing involves the police. As the civilian head of the police outfit, as the representative of the president representing the interests of the people that elected the president, be responsible for police affairs, I expected him to have been in the forefront of addressing issues related to this protest from day one. It was only yesterday or day before yesterday that the Minister of Youth went and visited the president and came out and said, President said this, President said that. This is not the way to handle this. This is the time that people in leadership should have done what they are supposed to do. The Inspector General of Police should be commended for acting very swiftly, but he acted beyond, a reasonable level. If I were to advise, the Inspector General of Police would have announced the disbanding of SARS immediately and then announce a consultative process for an outfit that would have replaced SARS. Not to say we have disbanded SARS and we are establishing another, outfit. He is quite patriotic in doing that. His intentions are quite noble, but because of the timing and the manner in which the announcement is made, it created suspicion. So these are some of the gaps that some of us have noticed. Beyond that, what we know in the past, and that I'm above 60. So for crying out loud, I have been in Nigeria when Nigeria was different from what it is today. What used to happen is that when there is a crisis like this in the hands of government, government invites all voices of reason. Government interfaces with traditional rulers, government interfaces with religious leaders, government interfaces with media, government interfaces even with songwriters and singers to say, look, let us all use our voices to call for calm, to call for understanding, to engender the voice of reason to take over. Let us talk to people. But this is a case where it appears that one or two individuals, just decided that, we will continue to run the system on trial and error. You inject this policy this morning. By the evening, if it fails, you start thinking of another policy tomorrow morning. And it lingered on and on and on. And I think we should begin to think differently. Let me lend my voice, my brother Daniel. Yes. Let me lend my voice to all the voices that have appealed to our respected President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari. President Muhammadu Buhari is the father of the nation. He is beyond our leader, he's the father of the nation. That is God's arrangement at this point in time for our country. There's nothing anybody can do about it. Whether you like him or you don't like him, he is the father of the nation. We expect that we're appealing that the president as father of the nation should address these youth as their father, talk to them, not just as the president, but as a father of everybody that is involved. He should also come out and say, if there are bloods that have been spilled, is regrettable, and that is, we do not accept it. He should come out, pacify these young people, tell them that, look, there is no battle between government and citizens. There is no winner, no loser. The only people that will win if eventually this crisis ends is the Nigeria as a country. And he is the leader of that country. So if this country gains, he is the prime beneficiary of that process. So we are pleading with our president to come out, speak to us, speak to the young people, speak to our children, ask them to pull back and allow things to happen. Again, Dan, let me tell you, I have seen something that gives me a lot of hope in my country. For the first time in this country, I have seen military men, top military men, move to the scene, excuse me, to the scene of protest, speak in a civil manner to protesters. I am from the Northeast. We have suffered during the Boko Haram. There was a state of emergency imposed on our state. I know what happened. The military treated us as if they were an occupying army. They treated us as if we do not matter. They showed us that we were not respected by the military at that time. They will just put up a roadblock, and when you line up with many vehicles, they will just come out and come with a stick and begin to break windscreens without telling you why they were doing so. But here I am, seeing top military commanders go and stand in front of protesters, begin to say, hey, Joe, please understand what I'm telling you. I think that is one progress in this whole process. Like I appealed, I'm still appealing. These young people, they're different from us. They're different from us. Our own time, we did not have a socializing mechanism like the internet and the social media. We did not have a quantum of knowledge that Google has placed in the hands of our younger people. We should not take them for granted. I said it at an NTA program, and I'm saying it on your program. The Chinese word for crisis is weiji. Weiji is made up of two words. One is translated loosely as danger. The other is translated loosely as opportunity. There is danger, but there's also opportunity in this crisis. We have not now learned that our young people are energetic. They are knowledgeable. They are capable of organizing and mobilizing. What we do is to identify what good can we mobilize this huge resource for, not leave it as if they are just irritants. This thing has started. It will no matter how we wish it, it will never go away. Another one will come, unless we handle these young people better. They have means of socializing that we did not have at our own time. They have knowledge available to them that we did not have at our own time, and they are upwardly mobile, creative, intelligent. There is nothing you can tell me. If you tell me Nigerians are doing Yahoo, Yahoo, somebody who is not an intelligent, who is not computer literate, digitally literate, cannot do Yahoo, Yahoo. So it tells you that, look, we have a youth that are intelligent, for crying out loud. Probably opportunities have not been created for them to channel that creative ingenuity and intelligence positively. That's why they're pushing it negatively. Probably we need to sit down and reconfigure ourselves and see how can we create opportunities for these people to utilize their knowledge, their capacity, their industry, their creativity for the benefit of our country as a nation. I think we need to do that. And Dan, I want to appeal to the media also, you inclusive and every other person, please, these narratives that tend to divide our country along our natural fault lines of religion, region, and ethnicity should be downplayed. God, who in his infinite mercy put us together, gives us certain advantages of being together. We must exploit those advantages much more than we expend our energy discussing the disadvantages of being together. That's my own position, for my country.
Well, thank you very much, sir. And this is an opportunity now for any of our listeners and viewers to send questions to our guests. I will continue also to check on YouTube to pick up any question, and on Facebook to pick up any question from there. So, but at this point, if I may ask our guest again tonight, Mr. Sajoh, what do you see as the end point? Because it appears, you know, this NSAS thing started as a protest, and now it appears it has been infiltrated by hoodlums. Yesterday, we saw high-handedness by the security agencies, and today we see burning and looting across the country. What do you see as the end game here? How do you see these things panning out?
Well, there are two possible options. If well handled, it's definitely going to end soon, because everybody that is involved is tired. And the goodwill that the peaceful protesters enjoyed from ordinary citizens, that goodwill is being eroded. Let's be honest with ourselves. They're losing the goodwill of the ordinary people. I tell you, by the time you loot a shopping mall, most of the shops belong to ordinary people. They don't belong to government. So you're no longer protesting police brutality. You are brutalizing other people who are innocent of whatever you are trying to talk about. So invariably, people will get tired and it will end. That's one option. But the second option is that it could infuriate many more people, and the many more people would come out, and then the clashes will become uglier, and it spirals into something much more than a protest. It could be the beginning of a very dangerous phase in our existence as a nation. But we are praying that it should not get to that level. We've noticed that quite a number of other agitators are trying to cash in on this to introduce their own agitations into it. And that will create another very dangerous mix. But I don't think we will go that far because, like I said, the civility I've seen in the armed forces today gives me a lot of hope. And I pray that the people in government will also wake up to the fact that they hold the aces. They are the ones that can pacify these young people. I have noticed that for the past 3 days, I have been crying that we have not heard the voice of the Minister of Police Affairs. We have not heard. Today, his press secretary has issued a statement. For me, I'm not satisfied.
What is the press statement? Anyways, let us recognize Jethro Kwaga. He wants to ask you a question. Jethro, please. What's your question to our guest tonight? Jethro.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening,
I
Jethro.
appreciate.
How are you, sir?
I'm very fine. I thank God. Thank God that I am part of this call, and I appreciate the privilege to ask you a question. So, you know, while observing the activities that happened yesterday, and then the fact that Lagos is flowing with blood, and as an agile Nigerian youth, I'm also pained because this is our time. If you look at leaders, my age, I'm 33 years now. And if you look at the history of our country, Gowon was 27 when he led us, and the rest of them were just about around this age range. Now, the president has not addressed us, as you rightly said. So what do you advise Nigerian youths? What do we do? Because I know that you must have witnessed our civil war then, and this is looking something like that. We don't want that to happen, even as youths. So what do you advise us, sir? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. The truth is that no country had survived 2 civil wars, so we are not praying for another civil war. And in any case, even if you want to have a civil war today, the boundaries have changed. You know, the divides are not the divides of the past. Where do you get the consensus? Is it in the north? In the north, there is no consensus. Is it in the south, the east, which used to be the east and the south? Do you think you can build a consensus there? You cannot build a consensus. Even the West, that nearly 100% Yoruba, cannot build a consensus. Because if you ask an Ekitiman or an Ndoman that he is returning to Ibadan, he will tell you he doesn't want to. So the truth about it is that we cannot build a consensus now to create, clear-cut boundaries that will enable us fight each other like we did in the past. That cannot happen presently. So, but again, we have to be very, very, very careful that at this point in time, what the youth of Nigeria have done, and this we must commend them, is that their voices, they wanted their voices to be heard, their voices have been heard. But that is just one step. The real step, my brother, is for them to now go back, mobilize, organize, and begin to change the leadership structure of this country and create the kind of leadership that they want. The youth constitute 65% of our population in Nigeria. If the youth can rise with one voice and refuse to reject our own, template for getting leadership for the country, they can get us, we can get a better leadership. The current template of leadership, the current template of governance is who do you know, not what do you have, how do you do it. Some few political godfathers will sit down in their parlor and determine who leads where, when. The youth can begin to mobilize and say no to that. The youth can use their voting strength now to change the leadership of this country. If our intention is to change the salaries of legislators, we can decide to sponsor legislators who will come and say, look, this salary is bogus, horrendous, and is not in tandem with the reality of the poverty of our country. We're changing it. We're doing this. So I think the youth should now begin to rechannel their energies to changing the leadership structure of Nigeria. But I want you to understand that let's be very honest with ourselves. Power is not Holy Communion. It's only Holy Communion, you go to the church and you open your mouth and the Reverend Father puts it there. Power is something you take, you grab. The force with which they use to force us to listen to them, that's the same force they should apply, perhaps multiply it by a tenfold to take over leadership of this country and do. You made mention of Gawan. Gawan was 32, not 27, he was 32. It was Alfred Detes Piff that was 27, 28 when he became governor. We had quite, but today, at the age of 40, you are lying down on the sofa in the parlor of your father waiting for your mother to bring food to you. That's unacceptable. At 30, you're supposed to start thinking of setting up your own family, having your own home. But today, at the age of 30, you are still grappling. And there are many areas where our youth are shortchanged in Nigeria. We are only focusing on police brutality. The university system in Nigeria is one of the worst in the world. Lecturers treat our young people as if they are prison inmates brought to the university. You cannot pass unless you please me. These are all areas that we need to address so that we reconfigure our country. People should come out of universities with skills, with competencies, with capacities to impact on society. We do not have that anymore. People just go into the university, obey lecturers, be nice boys so that you can graduate. You graduate and come out and do what? Ride Okada. Is that the kind of life we're planning for ourselves? And I think there are a whole gamut of activities that the youth must challenge in this country. But the starting point is this SARS protest. I am fully in support of the fact that this SARS protest creates an opportunity for us to harvest in mobilizing young people so that they can understand that they hold the power. The power is in your hands. You are 65% of Nigeria's population. You are the ones that go out to vote. You are the ones that talks at political campaigns. You are the ones that hold sway. Most of the very comfortable elites do not even register to vote. They don't even come out on the day of the election. A lot of them, if you live in London, Paris, New York, Chicago, you will find that the week of elections, they all jet out of this country, hoping that the elections, if there's rofo, as we call it in Nigeria, they will not be found within the boundaries of Nigeria during the rofo. So a lot of these people, the people that vote in this country are young people and women, honestly. So, and if we can mobilize young people, link up with women, we can take over the leadership of this country and create the kind of leadership that we want. What leadership do we want? One, we need a leadership that is competent. We need a leadership that is capable. We need a leadership that is knowledge-driven. We need a leadership that is in tune with current realities of the world. We need a leadership that will help us jumpstart our country from where we are today to where we ought to have been, you know, a long time ago. We started on the same pedestal, in fact, with a better potential than China and the Asian tigers. See where they are, see where we are. Bamanga Tukur is alive. He is still there. You know him. He was one time PDP chairman when Jonathan was the president. Bamanga Tukur was the one that signed the way bill that moved palm seedlings from Nigeria to Malaysia. Today, Malaysia is the highest producer of palm oil. What are we? You know, net importer of it presently. So it's within a lifetime. It's not something that happened, you know, in decades that somebody will tell you, American democracy took 200 years. Okay. Malaysian development took, is within a lifetime. You know, Singapore, the two most respected passports in the world, Japan and Singapore. Japan, you can go to 191 countries with Japanese passport without requesting for a visa. In Singapore, you can go to 190 countries with a passport without requesting for a visa. How many countries can you go with a Nigerian passport? That tells you, you know, our young people, you have to wake up at 4 a.m., you know, and when you wake up at 4 a.m., you go to the embassy and line up and be dehumanized before you can get a visa to any country. That tells you that we really need to reconfigure our country. And unfortunately for us, and I'm addressing agitators, the people saying we should divide this country. Let me tell you what happened in the past. We had 3 regions. Then there were agitations. The Edo and Delta of today, well, they were Midwest, and that they were shortchanged by the Yorubas. They needed a state of their own. So we became 4 regions. Then suddenly, the agitations continued. Gawan came and made us 12 regions. All the complaints that were in the 3 regions were shared into the 12 regions. Then again, you know, Murtala came and made it 19. Still the agitations continued. Babangida came and made it 21. The agitations continued. He made it 30. The agitations continued. Abacha came and made it 36. The agitations still continued. So what I'm trying to tell you is that if we share this country into 100 countries, all the complaints we are having now as a unit, as a unified country, we'll just share it into the constituent countries and continue our fight for agitations, for people who have done this. Let's work to get it right. Getting it right is not very difficult. We can get it right. This is our country. We are the people. We can do it. And our youth have demonstrated to us in no uncertain terms that we can rise up and say enough is enough. And I think that is the benefit of this NSAS protest to the country.
Last night, there was the question of the armed forces moving on to Lekki to disperse the protesters. In fact, that was it sparked international outcry. So this morning, the governor said no lives were lost. I've just received a press statement from Amnesty International that indeed 11 lives were lost at Lekki last night. Well, without dragging you into the question of how many lives were lost, but should that really matter whether any lives were lost at all? Should the army have been there? Should the situation have been better handled?
Let's put it very clear. I think the situation should have been better handled, but you know, the controversy as to whether lives were lost or lives were not lost, like you said, I'm not competent to speak about it. I'm not in Lagos. I have seen pictures of bullets that were displayed, but because I'm from an insurgency area, I know blank bullets when I see them. Some of these bullets were blank bullets, not live ammunition. But then that is by the way. In a situation like a protest where a lot of people have gathered, it is nearly impossible. I'm not saying it's impossible. I mean, I'm not saying with absolute certainty because, like I said, I'm not there. It's nearly impossible for you to dispatch people with some minimum level of force and that there will be no stampede. So even if there were no bullet wounds and things like that, people must have trampled on each other, and that could possibly result in loss of lives. That is absolutely possible. But beyond that, I think what can restore confidence in the entire system is, like the governor of Lagos said, they will set up a panel of inquiry. And if that panel can act expeditiously by coming out with facts and figures,
that's what, I'm sorry, sorry to interrupt you at this, but that is where my next question will have covered. If you were the president of the nation, can you tell us what exactly you will do now that you feel, yes, it will help to resolving this crisis at this point, if you are the president?
No, I'll tell you, the first thing the president of this country should do, and we are appealing to him, we are pleading with him, we're begging him, if that is necessary, we're begging him to address Nigeria and Nigerians and focus the address specifically at our children. Tell our kids, look, I'm your father, I'm your grandfather. For very many of them, he's a grandfather. For some of them, he is a father. That as your dad, as your granddad, I am begging you, I'm pleading with you. It doesn't reduce anything from his majesty as the president, from his excellency as his excellency. It doesn't reduce anything, from him to say, please bear with the situation. We've made mistakes, but we are human. We are capable of making mistakes, but that we understand. You have spoken, our ears are wide open, we have listened. Please give us a chance to have a rational approach, a rational thinking in addressing some of the problems that you have identified. That's the first thing. The second thing, like I said, is that as the president of this country, the president should order his people to reach out to every opinion leader, every useful voice in this country, to begin to speak for peace, to speak for unity, to speak for understanding, to kind of assuage the feelings of people from across the divides so that we can restore normalcy. This is absolutely necessary. It's not enough for ministers to sit in their comfort zone in Abuja, and then their states are on fire, and they think it's normal. It's not normal. Senators should stop sitting in that Senate chamber to start saying president should do this, should that. Everybody should go back to his place and begin to identify voices of reason, and these voices of reason should start talking about peace, unity, understanding, and peaceful coexistence. I think that is absolutely necessary, my dear brother.
Mr. Sajoh, what do you have to say about, because I noticed that this demonstration, initially it appeared to enjoy national acceptance, but now it appears, although you alluded to it earlier, that why is it that the northern part of the country, which should belong to, have not really keyed in? Is it that they do not support the cause, or?
No. Let us be honest with ourselves.
Yes.
The issue we are talking about is SARS.
Yes.
And I tell you, and I'm telling you, that if you go to Borno State, for example, everybody tells you that Zulum is very popular. You understand this?
Yes.
But there is somebody more popular than Zulum in Borno. And do you know the person?
Who?
The head of SARS. There was a time when Kashim Shettima was governor, Major General Rogers from Imo was more popular than Kashim in Borno. As far as certain parts of this country are concerned, they have their own peculiar concerns. And it is the people that address those concerns that they really like. So in most parts of northern Nigeria, SARS does not harass young people. Or even if they do, it's very sparing. It's not the way they do it in the South. I met a young man in southern part of the country who parted with about 300,000 to SARS. You can't get that equivalent in northern Nigeria. So it wasn't a shared problem, so to say. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, it's clear.
It wasn't a shared problem. And so then the northerners feel that they are being massacred in their large numbers. Admittedly, they didn't rise, or where they rose, they did not get support. When Katsina was invaded, Jibia people rose, they protested. They only protested there in Jibia. Nobody, even in other parts of northern Nigeria, joined them. When Sokoto was invaded, part of Sokoto were invaded, the Sokoto people rose, but nobody joined them in the country. You see, the bottom line is that when other people rose in Zaria and other places, nobody joined them. So the problem is we must begin to understand that none of us is free until all of us are free. None of us is safe until all of us are safe. So the day you wake up and you think that Daniel Elamba's problem is his own problem, is not my problem, when my problem comes, it will be very difficult for Daniel Elamba to begin to think that my problem is also his own problem. So we should start thinking within the context of our communality. And you know, my advice always is that we must rediscover our humanity. The day my little daughter told me during the Boko Haram days that there was a bombing and only 3 people were killed, I looked at this girl and I was shocked. So it has reached a point where our children think 3 lives lost is only. so you can understand, it's the way we are configuring ourselves. We look at problems that do not affect us as not our problems. And I think that we are going to be the losers for all of it. And this is what the political class have used to keep us in perpetual poverty. That whenever you raise an issue that there is poverty in this place, they tell you, the people who are complaining is because they don't like me as the leader, not that they are complaining about poverty. And then we accept this very pedestrian explanation to our problems. I think our problem is that, if one person is harassed in Lagos or in Owerri, let it be that everybody in Nigeria has been harassed. If one life is lost in Jibia or in Bulunkutu, let it be that all the lives of Nigerians are at risk. By the time we begin to think of ourselves within the communality of our humanity, that is when we will identify ourselves and talk with one voice. But as it is now, SARS had been harassing our brothers in southern Nigeria, calling them Yahoo boys, asking them to remove their dreadlocks, looking at anybody with a tattoo as a criminal, anybody with the dreadlocks as a criminal, as a Yahoo boy, every rich person. Let me tell you, let me even stretch it. Even our film industry, Nollywood, but 90% of our films show that young people only make money through cultism. So we have stereotyped certain things. So the police will see you with very rich, they say you are a cultist. They will begin to harass you. Or they will say you are a Yahoo boy. We must not stereotype anybody. We should not stereotype people according to their age, their religion, their ethnicity, their region. I think these are all, and now we have developed a new coinage. We stereotype people because of their age, their youthfulness. And, we stereotype people because they are successful. We stereotype people because they wear dreadlocks, because they wear tattoo. I mean, it's a choice, for crying out loud. So let them be. And so this is it. And if you look at it, our configuration, majority of Northerners do not behave that way. This is a cultural thing. This is a sociological thing. This is how our nation is configured. Certain people in the country behave in a particular manner. So these are some of the things, and I think we should start conversations around all of these things. We all failed ourselves. We all failed. Even you, we all failed ourselves. And I tell you why we failed ourselves.
Yes.
These things were happening. We were not talking enough. We were not raising our voices enough. I am a witness. I knew, like I told you, we even reached out to government that these things are happening. But government ignored. On Sunday, Daniel, this Sunday that passed, 2 days ago or so, I was on my way back between Kaba and Obajana. It's a distance of less than 50 kilometers. I counted 15 police roadblocks. Exactly. This Sunday. And what did they do? One of them, wearing a red beret, told me, Oga, do me Sunday. I said, I will not do you Sunday. Said, then you will not pass. You can imagine, the brazen nature that these people operate. And you tell me that the authorities don't know? They do know. I managed to reach out to Human Rights Radio in Abuja here. And then they spoke with IG Liaison. And, but because I could, I could reach out to somebody who will talk to somebody. But the truth about it is that a lot of things are happening that people are aware, but people are not reacting the way they should react. Our voices are not loud enough condemning certain things. But our voices now must begin to be loud enough. We are too preoccupied with divisive tendencies. We're not looking at social problems that are that are affecting us as individuals and as groups. And I think we must begin to talk around those social issues.
All right. While we still continue on this subject, Jethro, you made an important point some time ago. Do you still have anything to say with regards to your question to Mr. Sajoh and then his response with regards to how the political class have addressed the youth problem in Nigeria? Do you have any point to make with regards to that? Jethro, please.
Yes, thanks so much again for giving me the opportunity. I actually appreciate Mr. Sajoh for the inputs he gave, and then the insights, and then his response to my questions. I appreciate that he has been able to bring me up as a Nigerian youth. I have the confidence that, yes, if we are actually objective, as we have risen up, and then we have made our voice heard. If we are united, and then we are objective, like if we avoid violence, we just continue the peaceful protest, regardless of the assaults we faced, especially yesterday. If we keep our force united, I think that's a very good take-home point. And then it's not to be negligent. I have taken that point too, that we need to stand up, present a candidate as a Nigerian youth, and then try to work around that candidate and polish him well and present into the polity. I think that's what I've been able to grasp from that. And then I got a lot of other points that I noted down. So we are going to put this in action, and I hope that we are going to make a new history beginning from yesterday, 20th of October.
Jethro, can I also ask you a question, or at least tell you something that you need to do?
I'm listening, sir.
Okay. Look, you know what the political class are doing now? They're talking about power shift from the north to the south. This is all they are telling you. What they are saying is the turn of the south is the turn of the north southwest, or is the turn of this, that the north has had it and things like that. Is that not the only language they are talking? Did you hear anybody? Sir. Did you hear anybody in the political class talking about generational power shift? The old people who were leading Nigeria when you were in primary school or when you were in nursery school, they are still the ones leading Nigeria. Are we not going to talk about generational power shift? Are we not going to create a bar and say, look, no to elders, no to old people? Can't we raise our voices and say no? We have a job to do. We should. And then we are now, the NSAS is telling you that from now onward, somebody who is going to lead this country must demonstrate sufficient knowledge in all aspects that require his attention. We are not asking him to be an economist, but he must know the indices, the economic indices that affect livelihoods. We are not asking him to be an educationist, but he must understand what functional education means to the process of developing a young person to become useful in society. We are not asking him to be a medical doctor, but he must understand the relationship between nutrition and health. He must understand the correlation between a good healthcare system and medical tourism. We are not asking him to be an agricultural scientist, but he must understand what food security means for a growing population like Nigeria that started at 60-something million and is now 200 million and is still going upward. So Jethro, you are the ones to set the template and say, this is what we want for our country. Today anybody can become anything. People to become legislators, all they need to do is to bribe electorates. And they come to the House of Assembly and they are treating every subject under the sun as if it is rocket science. They don't understand anything. And we're sitting down and we're looking at them, for crying out loud. We need people who understand the governance process beyond just collecting salaries at the end of the month. They must be able, we must have a template that says if you want to be leader of Nigeria, you must have a minimum qualification and demonstrable competence in the art of governance, which involves an understanding of all aspects of public lives to the extent that you know what you want for the country. We need food security, we need fiscal security, we need good education, functional education that brings out youth that are competent, confident, and capable of standing there, skillful enough to stand their grounds. We need a healthcare system that will attract people to come and receive treatment in Nigeria rather than Nigerians going abroad. We need a security architecture that is anchored around increased intelligence gathering and intelligence sharing, not use of brute force. These are the things that the next leader, who must be a younger person, who should be alert, who should understand, who should be upwardly mobile, who is capable of reaching out to ordinary people to connect so that we can move our country forward. These are the arguments, these are the issues that you raise. It's not about the tribe of the person, it's not about the religion of the person, it's not about the region he comes from, but it's about his capacity to propel Nigeria on the traction to achieve our full potential. We have a human capital, a population that can change the course of history. The Chinese will tell you that even if the heavens will fall, they have enough people to hold it back. They're so proud of their population.
That's true. That's true.
We lament our population. We lament our population because we have rendered our population unproductive. So these are the issues we should be addressing as a people and as a country, not the issues of what tribe is he going to come from. Somebody called me and said, you Hausas are enjoying. I told him, my friend, I know some of the ministers that are very close to me that are from the north. They are their right-hand men, the people that work for them in the process of stealing Nigerian money are from the south. They don't even trust a northerner to come close to them. And it is the same thing with your southern brothers. They will never allow a southerner to come close to them to help them in stealing money because he will go back home and talk. So we only have unity in destruction, unity in stealing Nigerian resources. And we are sitting down. You want to have this, you want to have this. I don't care where my president comes from. I don't care where my governor comes from. I don't care where my legislator comes from. But what I care about is that when my child graduates from the university, if he cannot get a white-collar job, he should have, the atmosphere should be created sufficiently enough for him to actualize his potentials as as an individual in this country. I want a president, a leader, a legislator who will create laws that will make it possible for anybody, to get whatever he wants. Not this hegemony that is happening. You are watching me. Let me tell you now. They are building hegemonies. Only the children of the political class go into politics. Only the children of top civil servants go into civil service. Only the children of generals go into the senior cadre of the armed forces. Only the children of top police officers go into the police. Only the children of judiciary go into become high court judges. Okay, sit down. These people are building hegemonies for themselves and their children, and you are watching, and you are waiting for just the man to be called a president from your village. What does that do for you? So we need to really wake up. We need to wake up. We need to begin to talk about Nigeria within the context of the issue of developing this country as an egalitarian society, a society where there is equity, where there is justice, where there is fairness, where there is empathy for each other, where there is sympathy for what happens to every one of us, and where we can call a nation that we are very, very proud of. It's not rocket science. It's not something that requires somebody to go to the moon. We can do it here. We have all the potentials. I keep telling people, look at what the Igbo nation is doing to Nigeria. All they do is that they pick a young boy, bring him to the shop, give him 4 years, 5 years university education, practical university education in shopkeeping. Then they settle him, and then he opens his shop and he's successful. Nobody has been doing that in this country. And that is the secret of the success of the Igbo nation in Nigeria.
That's true.
While the rest of us, what do we do? What we do is that those who are fortunate go to the university, finish the university, and come and sit down in our parlor. If we are tired, we buy them Okada. It doesn't work that way. The 4 years, the 5 years the boy spends in the shop learning the art of running a shop is a university for him. He gets a degree at the end of the day, and then he opens his own shop. He knows exactly how to run this shop. Isn't that what the Igbo nation does to Nigeria? That's why if you go to any village in this country and you don't find an Igbo man, run away. Because they are the barometers for measuring how viable any community is. At one time in my village, there was not an Igbo man. We had to go and see which Igbo man can we convince to come and live in our village.
That's funny.
So I am telling you that we need to begin to look at our population as a resource. We need to look at our population as a resource. The Chinese will tell you, even if the heavens decide to fall, we have enough people to push it back. We must also begin to say we have enough people in Nigeria to hold back whatever adversity that befalls this country. But what are we doing? Every government will tell you, our population is too high, it's growing too high. Is the population not a resource? Is it not a resource? How can you complain of resources that God has given you? It's because you have not managed the resources properly, period. You're not adding value to anything. The way when I was born, my parents, my uncles were using simple hoe to farm. I have passed 60 now. They're still using simple hoe. We have not improved on that. Your people in your own part of the country, they go to the farm with the cutlass. They still go to the farm with the cutlass. Nothing has changed. We're not improving. But you, Dan, you are now running an online television. So you have improved from posting your stories as a blogger. You've gone to an online television station. Yeah, you have improved.
But we have been speaking with Mr. Ahmad Sajoh, former Commissioner for Information at Adamawa State. He has been very active. He's now running an NGO in Abuja now. Sorry, I've forgotten the name of your NGO. You can say
it's Future Now Project, and our key activity is that we're telling young people that the future is now. That today is the yesterday, is the tomorrow they were talking about yesterday. So if you really want a better tomorrow for yourself, start working on it now.
Okay, we
We're
thank you.
not saying you can do future tomorrow. It's future now. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we thank you very much.